Hello, welcome back to another edition of FlowState on this overcast day. I hope everybody's doing well, dropping in for the first time or dropping in for the 10th time. Feeling a little low energy today. It's been a whirlwind week full of intense training, lots of activity. Also, this is the first episode with my hair not tied up, so whatever that means. I'm in the middle of a 7-part series on intentional growth. So the scripted videos that I've been focusing on recording as I record this podcast have been focused on creating intentional growth in your life. They've been published already by the time this episode airs. And yeah, feeling good though. One of the things that I wanted to strive for was the idea of not having too much preparation with this podcast. The whole idea is that it's flow state. You're tapping into whatever vibe at the moment to be able to capture. And because I don't have any guests on this format and it's really focusing on channeling my current mood, there are moments of stagnation, there are moments of silence, and as I begin to reflect on it more and more, the more I'm comfortable with the idea. Giving space to the environment to be able to provide insight and trigger different things that come to mind, and also having the perspective that it's okay to bounce around with ideas. Sometimes I use this platform as a springboard for figuring out notes that are lingering in my mind. Other times I'm extremely focused on one topic. As I continue to refine my craft with regards to podcasting and creating this kind of format, I will be increasing my capacity to articulate my ideas in a more concise way with the intention of having as high impact as possible. That is my ultimate goal, to be able to uplift the lives of as many people as possible, including my own. And this journey that I've been on was predicated on that idea, that in order to tap in to your ultimate power, you need to first resolve and recreate your universe, if you will. And so it's interesting with regards to that, because I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the idea of, well, at least he was saying, you are God. And in the context, obviously this is not a religious conversation. This is not a religious context either. And it's a matter of perspective. So if you consider this as fact, which is you have no capacity to truly and fully, completely understand how someone else is feeling. There may be subtle clues and indications as to, happy, sad, angry, joyful, all the nuance that exists in our vocabulary to define and articulate different states of essentially chemical balance or imbalance. But to truly feel the way someone else does is impossible. And our perspective is just that. It's our unique individual perspective that no one else can hold. And until we're able to transcend our physical body through some mechanism to tap into someone else's consciousness, it's not going to be possible. So the closest thing we have is conversation. as well as visual cues to pick up on. And, I'll use this extreme example, but I think it really articulates the point. And you can see someone bawling their eyes out, either standing or in a crouched down position. And the assumption is that if they're crouched down, that something terribly wrong has happened. And I would also hold the same assumption for someone standing up. But having said that, I'm sure this has happened to you. You've cried while laughing hysterically. There are different triggers that ignite different emotional responses in us. And the idea that we can begin to understand what other people are feeling, different, like obviously most people have been sad, happy, horny, not horny, tired. It's like we can associate our internal processing of what those emotions feel like and say, well, I know what it feels like to be sad. But you do not know what it feels like to be the other person feeling sad. And so it goes back to that idea of, well, you are God. And in many ways, you are. You are experiencing the internal and the external world around you, right? Your mind, the way you're able to control it or not. Your ability to feel and articulate your emotions, emotional intelligence, being able to lean into it, to be able to leverage that as a tool for growth, not just to regurgitate, yeah, I'm fine when someone asks you, to be able to say, I'm feeling a little anxiety because of this, because of that, or I slept really well last night. It's been a while since I've slept that good. And because of that, I feel energized, I feel more clear-headed, and the probability of me doing good things today is greater than if I didn't go to sleep, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's just an interesting kind of intellectual exercise to go through, because I think it further detaches this identity to our body and our mind as one unit, separates it as a collective, right? It's like the idea of energy transfer. We're essentially all beings of energy, and that ends when you die. It's true for all life force. There's innate energy. Anybody that's ever been to a concert or church or any kind of gathering that is centralized around a singular focus amplifies the energy in that space as a collective, and it could either be positive, negative, neutral. And the perspective from the individuals are their unique experiences, but the accumulation of that energy is so profound and palpable to people that are coming into a space having not been there before. So you go to a music venue, you hear an amazing band or DJ, whatever, a performance of some kind, and there's a collective experience that happens. There's also the individual experience of all of the components that make up the group, meaning the participants, as well as the energy that is being, let's say, harvested by the performers to express their soundscape and to bestow the lyrics that they've, written and rehearsed and practiced many, 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 many times over to get to the point where they're projecting in a way that's palpable. And that I find to be so fascinating, because there's shared experiences that we all have, but they're also really compounded individual experiences that make up for that energy, right? And that shared collective experience. And so in my perspective, the idea of like, well, we are all God of our own universe, and that is a fundamentally correct statement. It just comes off a little, I don't know what the word is, but it's like using the word enlightened. It can come off a little like egotistical unless you're a monk. And then the idea of saying that you've reached enlightenment, to me, is only an indication that you're essentially starting over. Your trajectory with personal growth is essentially a series of steps. And this is true for anything. You don't go from zero to whatever this idea of enlightenment is. You go through some plateaus, right? And the idea is that for every plateau you're achieving, it gets more and more difficult to break through and start building momentum again. Because the idea is that you've already resolved all the things that came before it. So, for example, you're just going about your life, everything's great, or at least you think it is. You think you're in control. You don't really quite understand that there are factors that are beyond your control. All of our effective programming, all of the advertising that you're exposed to, the cultural differences. I mean, all of these things are playing off each other to essentially program your mind into a certain frame and existence. And then something happens that just pulls you out of it. And in many ways, it's going from unconscious behavior to conscious behavior. And there's a sense of calm, there's clarity, you feel very comfortable in your own skin, you feel safe, you feel powerful, and it's almost like there's nothing that could happen that would pull you out of it. But it's illusory, right? It will eventually go, and your focus after that is to kind of keep pulling yourself back into that state. And it's this constant battle of being conscious versus unconscious, present versus not present. And so this event happens, it ignites something in you that propels you to take action on something, right? There's no growth without action. I mean, my whole fucking shit is based on taking action because it is the most important thing. Now, you can take action in the wrong direction, which we'll, talk about later, and I believe we've spoken about this at a different point, but more or less taking action, I'm all in favor of. You can course correct with time, and the lack of action, is the thing that keeps us stagnant or regresses our possibility of taking a step towards development or growth. So this action happens, whatever it is, and you start working, you start developing, you start a practice, and then some time goes by, you're feeling better, you're clearer, you're calm, things are not as severe as they once were. Maybe you had issues with like road rage or whatever, and things kind of just are fading calmly into the distance, and you see yourself tapping into some power. You have a couple of key conversations with some family members, you resolve some shit from your past, or at least you get clear on it, and that further empowers your growth. And more and more work comes down the line, and you're feeling fucking like, woo! Look at me, look how good I'm doing. And that's no small feat, and I commend you if that's where you are in your journey. So having said this, there'll be a point where you feel like you kind of plateaued, and that's really an amazing sign in terms of growth, because it doesn't happen in a straight line, and it doesn't happen in a upward curve where you're just like, you know, from 0 to 100. You're going to go through stages. So you'll have a spout of growth, it'll go like this, and then there'll be some stagnation, and it'll feel a little weird. It almost will feel like you've regressed in some way. And that could be a year, it could be 2 years. You know, it really just depends on your discipline and your ability to reinforce the tools that have served you well to get you from point A to point B. But it's that inflection point where you realize that in that flattening, you're feeling a little stagnant. You're not feeling as full of vitality as you once were. You know, it's like going to the gym, your first 6 months, your first year, you're gonna realize the vast majority of your gains. And then as time goes on, it's gonna get increasingly more difficult for you to get that same results with the same amount of effort. So then the requirement is simply to put more effort into it, but that doesn't always work. You need to upgrade your toolkit from level 1 to level 2. As things get more sophisticated, things get more complicated, and generally more compute is required to achieve the same goal or result that you're looking to achieve. And that is instrumental in the trajectory of growth and how we can approach growth strategically to leverage these moments as opportunities to deepen our practice, to recommit ourselves, and to eventually leverage the tools at our disposal and break free of this stagnation, which is healthy, because it means that all of the things that you were working on to get you to that first plateau have been resolved, or at least to a point where you're clear on them, and you've also accepted your perspective, this development within you, to change your opinion, to let go of limiting beliefs, to let go of resentment, to let go of a whole thing that, you know, it's like was bringing you down based on your past, based on the things that you thought were happening to you, whether you're identifying as a victim or not. And the required output to break you out of that stagnation is going to be more challenging. It's going to require you to go deeper into yourself to better understand what is holding you back at that point. Because growth never ends. Well, that's not exactly true. Growth ends when you die. You know, I'm a big fan of saying this because it's true. And when you think you have got to the top of the mountain, you just open your eyes and you realize, well, it's just a valley within a larger mountain range. And that's the idea, that it never ends. But this continued commitment to tapping in to excellence, to leveraging your unique gift and amplifying it as much as you can, is going to take time, is going to take considerable effort. And happiness is a byproduct of you working in line with discipline, taking effort, and owning your life, as opposed to letting other people own it for you. Whether it's your parents, your husband, wife, your kids. You know, it's like it could be a whole a whole group of factors that you weren't even aware of that were controlling you. It's like being captured mentally, physically, emotionally, and not being able to see through. It's like the Matrix in a way, you know? It's like you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know that you've been captured, then how do you know that there's a better life for you on the other side? And it all starts with introspective work. It all starts with vitality, amplifying your energy so that you have the bandwidth to do the work that is required to break free from these plateaus to continue your growth. It's so vital. Whoa, fuck. It's so vital to not give up, because giving up is giving up on life. Giving up is suicide. Giving up is saying that I no longer love myself. And that's not an option. You have a moral responsibility to yourself to be the best possible version you can be. If for no one else but you, so that you can wake up feeling excited that you're alive, that you breathe, taking in the sun. If you have an animal that is your loved one, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, grandparents, whatever, these are all privileged situations to not squander, because if you do, you're not living up to your potential. And if you're not living up to your potential, then what are you doing? I mean, what the fuck are you doing? It can be extremely difficult. People suffer from all kinds of debilitating issues that are caused by so many known and unknown things. You know, just because you think you have some version of depression and, you know, there's a possible solution, it doesn't mean that it's the right solution. It just means that there is a solution. It may not actually allow you to see clearly. It may cloud your judgment, you know, pharmaceuticals, etc. Like, you know, nutrition is a big part of why people are so miserable, and they're so chronically suboptimal that they don't even understand what good feels like. I mean, they've been sick for years from birth, eating and drinking and consuming, and there's so much toxicity. Your brain incessantly on all the time, thinking. It literally is killing you from the inside. Leveraging tools at zero cost tools. For example, the vast majority of the content that I'm creating is actionable and at zero cost. So, and you know, I'm not the only one doing this. There's thousands of people out there, podcasts, books, etc., you know, public domain stuff from a long time ago that is at zero cost that you can leverage to begin to amplify your plateaus when you feel like you're getting stuck. This is a good sign, because it means that you've already kind of closed the gap from where you were to where you are now. That's my job as a coach, is to amplify that process so that we can close the gap as fast and as effectively as possible, so the gap doesn't widen again. So it's always closed. But it's inevitable that once we're doing positive and meaningful work, that we're going to plateau a little bit, because we've resolved all the things that came before it, only to open up another box of shit that we're going to have to confront and work extra hard, because it's going to continue to get more difficult. It's like Bitcoin mining. You know, the last Bitcoin to be mined is going to take like 30 years or some outrageous number, whereas the first Bitcoin could have been done in like, you know, 10 minutes. So never lose sight of the objective. The objective is to feel inside as good as you can possibly feel every moment of every day. And in order to achieve that, you need discipline, You need big, bright lines locking you into your core values that align with your goals, that you continuously refine over time to elevate the experience, not just for you, but so that you can be in service to others, further amplifying the process, creating power within you to be able to achieve the extrinsic things that you want, as well as not compromise the intrinsic. And the cycle just keeps going and going and going and going. I'll check back in a few minutes with you. Sometimes life feels like it's on repeat. But what if you could start fresh and start making real progress every day? That's exactly why I created the 10 steps to everyday action. Here's the best part. This isn't about doing it all at once. It's about small doable steps, things that you can actually fit into your day. Over the next 3 months, you'll get a new email every few days packed with exercises and insights to keep you moving forward. We'll cover it all. Finding clarity, setting goals that feel right, creating balance, and building habits that stick. It's practical, it's achievable, and designed for real life. So, are you ready to break out of the same old cycle and start moving towards something better? Grab the 10 steps to everyday action using the link in my bio or drop a comment below and I will send it to you. Start your journey to lasting change today. All right, we're back. Hope you took advantage, took action, and downloaded the 10 steps to everyday action. I have found those tools to be very effective to keeping your growth continuously moving forward. Core values are so foundational to this process, and aligning those with your goals, properly leveraging time, properly managing time so that you can close the gap between where you are and where you want to go. I took an opportunity in between recording these 2 scripted videos and starting back FlowState to do a quick meditation. And the mantra I chose was one word, and the word is release. 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 I kept saying it inside my head as a way of focusing my attention on something while using it as an opportunity to cleanse myself of resentments, things that I'm still holding on to. And as time goes on, there's less and less that I'm holding on to, that I'm attached to. But we're all human. We all flow into the same mental patterns. The ultimate goal is to get better and better at your practice so that you can pull yourself out of these patterns using the tools that are available to you to knock you out of this incessant thinking, kind of remote control operation that so many people are struggling with. Being grounded, being calm, collected, responding, not reacting, all comes from having a clear mind. One that is focused, disciplined, and committing committed to amplifying the potential that is in with all of us to be excellent at everything we do. We don't want to be sloppy in life. We want to be calculating. We want to be in control of our emotions. We don't want to be subordinate to our emotions. And it all takes practice and work. But the reward, wow, it's the greatest thing on earth. No matter how much money you have or how little, the job that you have or you don't have, waiting for that perfect opportunity that will never come, being in balance and harmony, being comfortable in your own body takes work. And if you think you're comfortable in your own body and you think you're not putting in the work, well, you may not have achieved the feeling that I'm referring to. Oh man, feeling it today. Really appreciate that it's overcast. If you're dropping in for the first time, or if you've been here before, I'd love to know where you're from, or actually where you're currently residing. I've been working on redacting that word from my vocabulary. It is incredibly vague. And one of the things I'm working on is being as precise with my language as possible to incite the best possible response from the individual or individuals that I'm communicating with. Language is such a powerful tool, and there's some incredible people that are so talented and know exactly what word to say to incite the emotional discharge to create a tapestry of emotion within a conversation. Like Russell Brand, for example, is so articulate. Oh, I feel it. This is going to be brutal. You know, I'm going to channel this energy right now to talk about tapping in to your body and listening to it. Understanding your body's needs and desires. Leveraging that to empower you, to be able to be more refined in how one takes action based on your needs. So I'm feeling depleted of energy right now. I am feeling powerful nonetheless, but I also feel my body expressing to me that the rest of the day should be focused on rest and recovery, sitting, eating a nutritious meal, hydrating, being connected to my children. I will most likely be editing one or if not two of the videos that I shot. They may not be for a few hours. I think you need to be able to push yourself. There are two things. One, being able to push yourself when you least expect it, and that is required of you. Something happens and you need to respond with force, meaning energy, not necessarily physical force, although in order to move your body, you need physical force to do so. You need enough energy in the tank to be able to have proper brain function. Learning how to cycle your training session in conjunction with your rest and recovery protocol to amplify your training sessions. There's no way you can do 100% every single day. And if you think you can, you're kidding yourself, because your body is just not capable of pushing 100%, like true 100%, not like where you think you're 100, but then you had a couple of days rest, and then you were like, okay, let me see 100%, and it was like double what you thought you could do, or 1.5 times, or whatever the case may be. There's a undulating frequency that happens with rest, recovery, energy exertion, fueling up your body with nutrient-dense, clean foods that provide you with sustenance, not only in the time that you're looking to engage your body in physical activity, but before and after. Hydration is key. Educating yourself on how you hydrate effectively. Drinking water by itself just doesn't cut it. Using sea salt is a great way to mineralize your water. There are other systems that you can use. Hey, Tiga. I remembered this time. Tiga. Come on, buddy. All right, you gonna stay there? Tiga. Come on. Come. Come. That's a good boy. Okay. Whew. I'm gonna take it easy up this hill. You know, so many times have I said that, and then I kind of get a second wind. We'll see. hydration. Little salt, little sea salt, Celtic sea salt, Himalayan pink salt, Baja gold salt. Fantastic source of minerals. If you can source brands that publish their analysis of the product, obviously that's better. You know, figuring out about the amount of microplastics that are in the salt, the packaging, does it come in glass, does it come in plastic? All of these things have an effect on our body, our mind, our whole approach to life. I spoke about this before, the idea of ceremonializing your life and different aspects of it. That can mean a whole host of things. For example, I go through many rituals that break up my day, starting with my morning, living into something that I prepared the night before, just by setting up all the equipment that I need for my coffee, for the water, for my morning ceremony that really sets the tone for the day. And that starts right in bed when I wake up. I do a quick body scan. It's not long, you just sit there. You're laying there, you're still waking up. All kinds of shit is happening in your brain. You know, you're transitioning from sleep to wakefulness, but that takes time. So before I do anything, I just keep my eyes closed and start at my toes and work my way up to my head, the top of my head, just checking in with my body. How does it feel? Does it feel rested? Does it feel a little uncomfortable from maybe training a little hard the day before, or just checking in to be mindful about my body? And then go right into gratitude practice, which is what I do at night. I do the same thing at night before drifting off into sleep. I lay in bed, I do a body scan, and then I have a gratitude visualization practice. And what's incredible about that is that when you practice gratitude, your body, your brain starts secreting all of these most incredible hormones and precursors to melatonin, serotonin, reduce cortisol. You just feel love and connection to the people that bring life into your life. And it's so important. And my sleep has just gotten so good over the years by continuous practice and dedication to sleep quality. The morning practice is a little different. It's not as long. I am eager to wake up and to continue to my other protocols. And I am working on slowing things down because I feel like there's just this natural desire to move on to the next thing. And my practice has really brought attention to slowing things down and being more present in every aspect of my life with all of the nuance that happens throughout the day with everyone. I mean, it's just incredible. And just slowing down, focusing on your breath, just one conscious breath. That's all it takes to bring you from unconsciousness to present moment. And you might lose it, but you know, it's that repeated action that over time compounds into habits and into living into a new lifestyle that is in alignment with mindfulness, presence, just with your heart open to receive, to be able to give back. Oh. I think we all have more time that is available to us if we choose to slow down, if we choose to be more intentional with our actions. Things have a tendency of taking longer, but at the same time, you appreciate more. And I feel you accomplish more in less time, ultimately, because your mind is clear and focused for the task at hand, removing all distractions, and engaging in premeditated deep work. You realize you have so much time, so much time. People who tend to be busy don't know how to manage their time effectively. Busyness is essentially a form of laziness, rushing from one thing to the next and endless to-do lists. Time blocking is the only effective way to keep your time under control, focused and regulated. Check out the video on my page about time blocking. I think you'll find it very informative. All right, I'm back home. Thank you for joining me on this fantastic day, flow state. See you next time. I love you all.